This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Listen to your host, Tim Lincoln. I'm so glad you're joining us today. We've got a great guest and a great topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure for our listeners out there, you've experienced it too. So I won't give away all the secrets, but we'll definitely tackle them during the show. But our special guest is Cathy Symons, who has written a couple of great books, and we're going to talk a little bit about them and talk about her history with the books and writing the books and the topic in general. So I'm putting a little teaser out there. It's something that unfortunately a lot of us who love our dogs and our cats go through, and we need to know a little bit more about how to make their lives great. So and how this isn't so scary if you help them along the way. So there's your little tidbit. You can think about what it is. But we're going to come back right after these commercial breaks and talk a little bit more to Cathy Symons about her books and the topic at hand. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help. Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite. Pick up 2 bottles of Lico Chops, get the 3rd bottle free. New improved Lico Chops with omega-6, omega-3, vitamin E, and now 6 extra direct-fed microbials. Even better for the digestive tract and immune system. And dogs love it. Try Lico Chops. Buy 2, get 1 free. This is Henry Lukasevic for Dynavite.
DINOVITE.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. This is your host once again, Tim Lincoln. Joining me now is author, and she's also a CVT CCRP specialist. Knows everything there is to know about animals. Our special guest tonight is Cathy Symons. Cathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much.
Well, we're glad to have you on the show. Now, we're going to talk about the 2 books that we have, and they're written totally differently. So later in the show, I want to talk about what it was like to write the 2 different types of books, because we're talking about one topic, which the first book is called Blind Devotion, Enhancing the Lives of Blind and Visually Impaired Dogs. So serious topic, but ways that we can make our lives great with animals that have lost their eyesight or are losing their eyesight. And then we'll talk a little bit about the second book, which is called Watching Out for Digger, which is a children's book, but it also has the same line, the same topic, but in a little bit more friendly way, and how to help our children along when this happens to their dogs. So let's talk a little bit about the topic at first. Tell us about Blind Devotion, working with blind animals. How did this come about? What's your passion behind it? And how did you come about writing the books?
Well, as a veterinary technician, I'm always looking for a way to support people with their pets. And how can I make their lives easier? And how can I make their lives and their journey with their pets easier? And so over the 30 years of being a technician, I've seen hundreds, maybe even thousands of blind or visually impaired dogs. And I can hear myself over and over telling clients, your dog's going to be okay. Your dog's going to be all right. And that's because I truly believe that until it happened to me. And then I realized, wow, this is a whole area I'm missing where I could be so much more supportive to clients, because it was devastating. My dog was 7. He was right in the middle of his prime of his life when he went suddenly blind. And then I was left with so much fear about his quality of life and how I was going to keep him safe and how I was going to help him navigate the world. So, once I kind of put that baggage down and got rid of my own, anxiety, I was like, I'm going to document this. I'm going to document our journey with this dog and see if I can help other people with their journey if their dogs lose their vision. That's where it sort of started with me, documenting what we were doing. Yeah.
Well, as a technician, did you early on, before this happened with your dog, obviously, was it more of your compassion for people and you were telling them it's going to be okay? Because how do I want to put this?
Yes.
I'm assuming you're going to say that same thing. If the dog's going blind, you're going to say it's going to be okay. We're going to help you out. But also if the dog has diabetes or has some other illness, you're saying probably those same terminologies.
Yes, exactly. And again, it's really coming from a place of, I really believe your pet's going to be okay. I think we're going to get through this. But I need to find a better way to support these clients and show them, really, how are we going to get through this? Because that's my job. I'm your support staff. I'm your dogs or your cats or your birds advocate. So I needed to find once this happened to me, I was like, boy, this is something I really should focus on helping these clients a little bit better in their journey and their transition into their new life with their dog, or their new things that they're going to have to learn to deal with, or to navigate, or to help their dog adjust to this.
Right. And so with your own dog, how did that come about? Was it a sudden type of situation, or had it developed over time and it was going sort of unnoticed just because animals are great at masking what's going on in their lives?
Aren't they? They are amazing. Their ability to adapt is incredible. Yeah, he lost his vision over a period of several days to a disease called sudden acquired retinal degeneration syndrome. We don't really know a lot about it. We suspect in veterinary medicine that this may very well be an immune-mediated or autoimmune disease, but I don't believe that we really have a great understanding of the disease. But dogs can lose their vision in a period as quickly as 24 hours or over several days. So it was quite shocking for him as well as it was for us. He just started bumping into stuff. That's how we noticed. He was like, I was like, hey, that's kind of weird. He doesn't really bump into the table leg or the couch. He knows his way around the house. And so some of those subtle, like, I bumped into this, I bumped into that, was what led us to the vet, go to the veterinarian and say, hey, something's not right here with our dogs. And we all know our dogs. We know when something is not right. The look on their face, the way they're acting, the way they feel, conveying their emotions to us, we can feel that.
Absolutely. And I totally can empathize with the situation. We talked briefly off air. I had two schnauzers, brothers from the same litter, purebred schnauzers. And about that same age, about 7 years old, Woody developed SARDS, sudden retinal degeneration. His was the 24-hour kind. There was really no sign, no indication of it at all. He had a plethora of other health issues going on. We had been fighting through Cushing's, and he had early stages of diabetes. And he was my real muse, my real educator in the work that I do today. But unfortunately, he had to go through all the struggles to teach me, to allow me to teach, have the voice of tens of thousands of other people to teach him about this. And this was another episode, with Buzz. He lost about 90% of his eyesight over about a 3-year period before he made his transition. But Woody's was overnight. And it was like what you had said and what you had went through, I'm sure. Couldn't understand it. Never experienced that before in our lives. How does that happen overnight? And basically, one day he could see fine going up and down the stairs, no problem. And the next day he couldn't even find the stairs. So it's a scary proposition. And, as their human companion, their heart connection, we obviously start beating ourselves up over the whole situation. How did you go about getting past that transition of the blame and the guilt and everything that goes along with it to say, okay, hey, wait a minute. This is something I got to learn about. This is something we have to live with. And here's a real, as you said, a great educational opportunity as well.
Absolutely, right? And I think later, in hindsight, I could see, boy, you really shouldn't feel sorry for my dog, because if you know my dog, he's on the couch and he's covered in a blanket and he's got everything he needs. But the guilt was tremendous. How did I not know this? How could I have prevented this from happening to him? I even felt so guilty to think, well, maybe if he even had a different owner, maybe this wouldn't happen to him. And of course, when you sit down and think about it, from a medical perspective, I couldn't prevent it. It's a disease we don't understand. Unfortunately, it does run a little bit higher. And I had a pug, and it does run a little bit higher in that breed. And once I realized it wasn't a fault of mine, it was a medical condition that happened that I could not prevent and I couldn't stop. And once I kind of got over that anxiety, I was like, okay, now you got to put that down, put your human emotion down and start going, put your baggage down and go, okay, how can you help your dog? And that became the most important thing, the foremost important thing. How can I help my dog not only get back his life, but his love of life? Because he was a sassy guy. And I wanted him to have that spark and that love of life again. So that was what drove me. I need to get him back to that sassy little, bossy little, pug that he'd always been, right?
Exactly. Because they go through the same emotions we do. This is, as I mentioned, it's they're great at masking whenever there's a health issue going on. They try their best to solve it themselves and mask those challenges. But when you're talking about something, especially like SARDS, which is virtually overnight or over several day period, they have a lot of questions themselves. And how do they gain back their independence, and how do they continue on being, like you said, the sassy, spunky little one they were before all this happened?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. I think he didn't necessarily want me to help him. I think, you're right. I think he had a lot of emotion around it as well. He wanted to be independent. He wanted to continue to do those things. And yet he was frightened, at the same time.
Right. Well, in your book, Blind Devotion, Enhancing the Lives of the Blind and Visually Impaired for Dogs, do a great job. A lot of great resources in here. You're talking about your own experiences as well as some of the things that once this happens, how can you make the dog's life easier and allow them to have that great same quality of life? What are some of the things, just you don't have to go into every single one, but what are some of the first things that you did, for some of the first things that you put into place that would make it a safe environment, but also a fun and challenging environment?
And challenging, right? The first thing I did for our first dog that went blind, is I tried to make things as predictable and routine as possible for him. We went out the same time every day. He had breakfast the same time every day. And he became to rely on that. And it made him feel more comfortable that he could predict with certainty the same thing was going to happen every day. So the predictability, I think, for him was key. And then we started expanding some of those things, so to get him used to walking through the house without bumping into stuff, I would walk him on leash so that we could find sort of reference points in the home. So I'd walk him from his leash to his food bowl, and from his food bowl to the back door. And then I would do it again the next day until he got that mapped out. And it really didn't take him very long before he had that mapped out. Now, just giving him that little bit of confidence really was tremendous, just for him to understand that he could solve a problem or solve some of his own problems was such a confidence booster for him. Once I saw that he was starting to have this confidence, then I was like, oh, it's on. We're going to start challenging a little bit more, taking him outside, maybe taking him for walks where he was comfortable, but maybe that day we went a little block further, teaching people in the neighborhood how to approach him without frightening him. But he loved to be greeted, but he didn't want to be startled. So I could educate people outside of, the home, how to approach him, how to approach a blind dog, and let him, make that first move. So once that started happening, he was ready for more training and more fun, honestly, at that point. He was like, all right, I think I'd like to have a little bit more fun. So I started challenging him with marking places in the home with scent to see if he could track himself track the source of that scent. So I'd mark the food bowl with a little bit of vanilla oil, mark the kennel with a little lavender oil, and see if he could, find that source back. And he really enjoyed that process. And then we turned it into a game, a find it game. Can you find this? Can you find that? Can you find me? And boy, those little things that build confidence in the problem solving was tremendous for him, a confidence booster.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. You want to get, from a safety standpoint, you want to put things into place to make sure that there's no harm going to happen.
Yeah.
So you have to be, for us, I know that we put the baby gates in front of every stairway and every exit point. And we went with the metal ones with the little kick foot plate. So it made it nice and easy. You press down the foot plate, the door swings open and closes. As a matter of fact, even today, Woody passed away in 2007. Buzz passed away in 2009. But in any case, we still use them today, even though our two other newer schnauzers, our recent schnauzers, right? We just gotten so accustomed to having them in all the main doors and all the main stairways that it's just commonplace now. But yeah, you protect those. You pick your shoes up. You don't move any furniture around or change the furniture around. You keep everything the same. They will have the sense and the smell, and all the hearing will still be in place, so they'll be able to pick up on all that. And even for us, the only challenge we ever had, there's a couple episodes I do remember. One was we had a back door that led to our big fenced-in backyard, and he could handle that, no problem. He could go out the door, go down the stairs, run to the backyard, no problem at all. We did, when he come back in the house, we had a nice little black line of nose prints around that entry. he never bonked it too hard where it hurt himself, but he to find his way, it was sad to pain him after he made his transition. But we had nice little black marks around that wall. We did have one episode where I'm convinced his guardian angels saved him. We opened the gate. We weren't ready to help him down the stairs, and he decided to take off running down the stairs himself. And of course, he got to the first one, and then he was midair, and we had like 12 steps down. Then he turned slightly to the left, and there was another 8. So it was a pretty big stairway. Yeah. And the angels collected him up. I firmly believe his guardian angel picked him up and laid him down nicely on the lower, the lower area where he was safe. And because no way he could have jumped 12 stairs all the way down and landed safely. So we had a nice guardian angel episode there. And then we had a keyword. There was a keyword. I'm a big proponent of using a positive energy keyword when you're communicating with your animals, when you're trying to teach them a particular lesson. If they do something and use this keyword, they get a reward. Yeah. And for Woody, when he would run out the back door, down the stairways into our big backyard, he would always take off to the furthest part of the yard because the neighbors had a couple of dogs themselves. So he always wanted to check out where the dogs were going. The challenge was there was a retaining wall that protruded out from the house out into the yard. And so we used the code word, the positive energy word of easy. So whenever he was running, and he was heading straight for that, I'd yell out easy, and he'd immediately stop, and he knew to sort of detour to the right, not the left. And he would miss it every time. And we did that for almost 3 years, and not an incident whatsoever.
That's amazing, really. And if you think about how connected people are, or dogs are, to us, and the cues that they're looking for from us, and the emotion that we can convey just by saying easy, or even drawing the word out like easy, make it sound like what you want it to be, like easy. And it's amazing because they're cued right into you, and they want those cues, and they can get those cues just as good or as fast as dogs that have vision.
Absolutely. And, I always use, positive words: easy, happy, sweet, nice, love, pretty. Right. Those brings about positive energy, positive imagery. And then as a reward, it was simple. I didn't have to give him a treat or any special attention. I just told him, good job. So we'd do easy. He'd miss the wall, and I'd tell him, good job. Good job. He was happy with that. So he was pleased with that. But it also happened to, have you encountered situations either for yourself or for other clients that you've worked with or people that that have read your book? What's the benefit or the con of having an additional dog in the house, a pal, or multiple dogs? Whenever you either have a dog goes blind, if you've got other dogs in the house presently, what are the dynamics behind that you've seen or have experienced? Or what about bringing in a second dog to assist in this situation?
This is the most common question I think I get, Tim, is that, can my dog take cues from another animal or another pet in the house? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that they are looking for cues. They're looking for cues from their humans. They're looking or listening, really, for cues from other animals. And I think that dogs or cats can act as seeing eye animals for their impaired, pack mate. I think it also depends, certainly you're right, on the dynamic of the pack. Some dogs are very in tune with each other. They almost intuitively, one dog may know that the other dog is impaired somehow or needs help somehow. And they will, I have a client whose dog will go out. They both go out at the same time. And when it's time to go back in, the other dog corrals the blind dog, back into the house. And it's a very wonderful, sweet relationship. I'm always cautious about telling people, if you want to introduce another dog into your house, I'm a big proponent of positive training and positive interactions. And so I always tell people, if you have somebody that you can, a trainer that works with positive stuff like clicker training or things like that, that maybe integrating that would be helpful for both of those animals. And think about this. It doesn't have to be a dog. It could be a cat. Sometimes dogs and cats get along too. They can take cues from other animals as well. And I think they're looking for it. They want to get cues. And vision, of course, I guess, would probably, in my opinion, is probably their third maybe sense. Their sense of smell, their sense of hearing. And honestly, even just picking up on energy from other animals or people is helpful for these animals as well. So vision really probably ranks third overall for senses.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with that. And for our situation, we had Buzz and Woody, as I mentioned, from the same litter. Now Woody he developed the SARS and went blind overnight. He was definitely the alpha. He ruled the roost. Buzz was like me. He just went along for the ride. But immediately when Woody went blind, they had that conversation. He had that knowing. They were, stuck like glue. They were extremely bonded together. And instead of him, Buzz, being mopey or being concerned or worried, or even all of a sudden trying to take on the alpha role, he didn't. He played the big brother routine, and he ran block for Woody. So when Woody did take that corner too sharp or was heading toward the retaining wall or trying to go down too many stairs at one time, he would go out in front of him. He would run block. He would let Woody run into him instead of running into the wall or the door or whatever it may be. And so for us, that was already a blessing that was in place. And Buzz blessed us even further by helping his brother along and protecting him. I do know from
Yeah,
it really is. I do know from the flip side, though, that we were going to, at the same time, bring in, not the same time, but a couple of years later, we were going to bring in a third Schnauzer just as a foster, just to sort of take care of the dog. Sweet, amicable dog, just wonderful dog. It would have, Buzz just enjoyed her so much. Woody did not. That lasted for about 30 minutes, and Woody made it very clear to me that no.
This isn't happening.
Yeah. Whether MI side or not, no. So we found her another nice place to live, and actually she became a shop dog. A gentleman owned a local frame shop, and she became the local shop dog there. So it worked out great for everybody. But yeah, he made it clear, and as a dynamic, that was his personality to begin with. But in that situation, it doesn't always benefit bringing in another dog as a buddy or a power protector.
Right.
So like you said, you have to have the right amount of training. You have to ease into it, and you just got to make sure that it's the right and perfect fit for your family and mostly the dogs in your life.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So what were some of the, when you put together the book, Blind Devotion, when you put everything in there, lots of nice tidbits, a lot of items in here that you can do, the halo item to put around that the dog could wear, and it works sort of like a bumper guard, but it looks like a little halo, all these great devices. Did that require a lot of research, a lot of testing? Do you have like 4 cabinets of stuff now and only one of them used? How did that work?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I keep a whole closet of stuff. You never know what's going to work for one dog and what's going to work for another dog. Yes, I did a fair amount of research with that. For our first dog, we used the halo vest for our first dog, and it worked wonderfully. And my dog, because he was a pug, I was always worried about corneal abrasion. So I know he's going to bump into things, but his eyes are so large. Is he going to, are they going to get scratched? And this doesn't completely protect him from corneal abrasion, but it did allow him a sensory feedback. So when he was wearing the halo, if he bumped into something, the halo would touch it first. That sensation was transferred to his shoulders, and he went, "Oh, I'm close to something. I better slow down. I don't want to bump into something." So it allowed him, I like to call it whisker extensions. They're not like that sort of a feeling around and getting more confident and protecting his face and protecting his head from those nasty head bumps. And I did the same thing with our second blind dog. As soon as we got Digger, our second dog, who also had SARS, we got him a halo for paws. We got him right in it. And that was great because he was a very active guy. Same thing. Put that hoop on him, the halo. It fit nice like a harness. It didn't restrict him in his movement. It was very comfortable. The hoop itself is flexible, so he didn't come to an abrupt stop if he would, bump into something, which is something I was worried about. I didn't want him to get hurt either. So there's a nice flexibility to it. So it's a nice, gentle sort of, hey, you're kind of close to something. Don't run into this.
Exactly.
So we did a lot of research. Yeah, we did a lot of research with that.
Great. So what would be the one message that you'd want to get out there when people pick up a copy of Blind Devotion or have a situation where they have a blind or a visually impaired dog or animal?
I think people and owners already know this, that the ability to connect with your dog is a gift that has been given to us. We want to sit quietly. We want to sit with our dogs and put our own emotion aside a little bit. We don't want to feel sorry for the dog. We don't want the dog to feel helpless also, because our feeling of helplessness and fear is going to translate to our dogs as helplessness and fears, because our dogs are so in tune to our emotional states. So I think if we can change our mindset a little bit about it, make things positive, you're going to be okay. We're going to make things predictable for you. We're going to help you. We're in charge. We're going to help you, and we're going to be your leader, but we're going to be a leader in a positive manner. So we're not going to do anything aversive. We're not going to do any, water squirting or any of those things. We're going to be a positive leader for dogs. And with that, I think that if you're able to find somebody who's a trainer, a positive dog trainer, they can help you through some of those steps, because we can teach our dogs lots of things. Verbal commands, touch cues are great. And we can pair verbal cues with touch cues. So our dogs learn to understand that not only the verbal cue sit is sit, but if you learn to tap them on there, just give them a one finger touch maybe on the butt, that they understand that that means sit as well. So there's many things that we can do. And our dogs want to learn. They want to navigate the world, and they want to be able to problem solve, and they want to please you because they love.
That's it. You're absolutely right. So good message, good thoughts on that. I totally agree with you on all of that. And, the key thing is whenever your animal's going through a major challenge, we'll call it, especially when we're talking about going blind or being visually impaired, life's not over. Life should continue on. There's new challenges, new things, and your dog will surprise you about all the things that he and she can still accomplish. So do the things to protect them and help them along, and you're going to continue to have a great life with them. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then I want to come back, Cathy, and talk to you a little bit about writing and talk a little bit about the other book, Watching Out for Digger.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, so everybody hang tight. We're going to come back right after this commercial break. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Today's episode is sponsored by Hanover Square Press and The Secret Language of Cats: How to Understand Your Cat for a Better, Happier Relationship by Suzanne Schatz. Have you ever wondered what your cat is saying? In The Secret Language of Cats, Schatz offers a crash course in cat phonics to help you crack the cat code. Perfect for the fans of The Lion in the Living Room and the Inner Life of Animals. The Secret Language of Cats by Suzanne Schatz is available for purchase today.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Continue our conversation with Cathy Symons. Talk to her about her books, Blind Devotion, Enhancing the Lives of Blind and Visually Impaired Dogs, and the spinoff of that, or the children's book, Watching Out for Digger. Now, Cathy, so we put together the book. You write the book, Blind Devotion, full of great insight, personal stories, items and tasks and things that you can do to help your blind or visually impaired dog. Then I'm assuming that the Watching Out for Digger book, the children's book, came out after that.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So were you just sitting around one day thinking, wow, this be pretty easy to draw some, get an illustrator, put some cartoon sort of things in there and whip this out? Or was this something more of, I need to get the message down to the youth, the youngsters, how they can understand all this?
That's exactly how it hit me. I was thinking, my goodness, why am I not teaching children this? And at that point, we had adopted our second dog who had come up in rescue. He was a 6-year-old pug who was already blind from SARS. And so they were sort of worried about him being unadoptable because he was blind. And so it's loosely based off of this adoption of our third pug, Digger. And I thought, I've got to be teaching children about living with disabled dogs. And I'm hoping, as I'm reading to children, that they're understanding that they're not only learning compassion and empathy for animals, but that it translates to how we should treat people. So that's what it hit me. And I thought Digger is a great example of living life to the fullest because he was a presence for sure.
There you go. And it can be very scary. It's very scary for us adults when we have to experience this and help our animals along. But our children, they have lots of questions and lots of doubts and wondering if their favorite furry friend is going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, growing up with animals myself, I thought that was also a special gift in thinking how connected I was to everything, nature, things that weren't myself, because I had these animals that I loved dearly. And the children are so responsive and so into it. When I sit and read to them, immediately they want to talk about their dog, their cat, their bird, their goldfish. They want to tell me their stories. They're very into Digger, and it sparks a dialogue with these kids about dogs that have disabilities, and that these dogs are just like people. Some of them are blind, some of them are deaf, some of them are in wheelchairs, and they all have value. And the kids really respond to that. So it's really exciting to see that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And our dogs continue to be great teachers as well, because our children, as well as adults, but children, they experience this in their own lives. And if they can see a dog can get through it okay, then perhaps they can get through it okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now let's put our writing hat on for a moment. Have you always been a writer? Have you always wanted to be an author? And if so, did you have the grandiose idea that you'd write a real nice educational sort of book and then turn around and write a children's book?
No, if you had told me that, even 10 years ago, I would have said, no. I would not have thought of that. My specialty, I'm a veterinary technician, but my specialty is as a canine rehabilitation practitioner. And so my passion or my efforts and my energy and my love goes into taking care of dogs that have physical impairments and teaching their owners how to have their dogs adapt to those types of physical impairments and then guide them through how we can make those dogs their quality of life better and make their mobility better, make their pain level better. So I focus a lot on rehab and physical impairments rather than sensory impairments. But then again, I also came to that conclusion, like we talked about earlier, like, oh, you're missing this whole big piece where you should be an advocate. You're supposed to be an advocate for your patients. And I need to share this with people. And when I share those with people, and then they learn things to do with it, and then they're excited, and then they share with other people. So it's exciting to see. Yeah, it's exciting. When believe it's a blind dog community. There's a whole blind dog community out there. Facebook, Instagram, these people are out there sharing all their stuff in a really nice, good, positive way.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to reach out, not only to experience it yourself, read about it, learn, talk to your veterinarians, talk to your trainers about the whole thing, but that community, that's a very important thing. And the one thing that always surprises me, whether we're talking about this topic or any topic regarding animals, there's always somebody else out there. Yeah. And so many times we catch ourselves thinking, man, I must be going through this alone. And no, you're not. There are others. And you can learn from them and they can learn from you as well as it's a great healing process as well.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. Now, writing the books, how difficult was it? And was one style easier than the other? Was it easier to write the sort of informational, detailed book, or was it easier to write the children's book?
Oh, writing the children's book was so much fun. And the illustrator that I have, Ann Zemansky, she got my vision right away that this was supposed to be a happy, positive story about this dog's adoption. So that was so much fun to do. The Blind Devotion, the writing style was a little bit harder just because I had to research and reference and read papers. And it took quite some time. It probably took me almost 3 years to get everything down and researched to make sure that I was giving out good information, current information, updated information, and that people, again, were treating this sort of in a positive way. But the children's book was it was so much fun. It was so much fun to do. And seeing pictures of Digger as a cartoon was just, it brightened my day. It just made me laugh.
That's the key. It's real fascinating that you say that. You think that, wow, children's books are really easy, but there's not. There's a lot. When you got, 20 or so pages, you've got the illustration, you got the story, and you only have a short number of pages to get the message across, as well as make it fun and educational.
Right. Yeah. And when you read the book, Watching Out for Digger, you'll notice that they're trying to come up with ways to, help Digger be safe and integrate him into his family, but yet they're having fun. They're having fun with him. They're playing with him. He's having a good time. So it's a very positive message.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with the book, Watching Out for Digger, what's the key message that you're going to get across to the children?
Again, first of all, these dogs are out there. They're blind or they're deaf or they're in wheelchairs. They have value. They're adoptable, and we can integrate them into our families. It does take a little bit more responsibility. It does take a little bit more research, but they're out there and they're adoptable.
There you go. And you can have a great life with them, and they'll love you to death. So
that's right.
Definitely so. Well, Cathy, how can people follow you and also pick up copies of Blind Devotion and Watching Out for Digger?
Blind Devotion, Enhancing the Lives of Blind and Visually Impaired Dogs, and Watching Out for Digger are on Amazon.com. If you would like to follow us, you can follow Digger on Instagram, Digger the Blind Pug. And if you're looking for articles on living with blind dogs, you can go to my website at blind-devotion.com. I write little articles about living with blind dogs. Probably every month I'll try to write a new article about resources for these dogs.
Very good. Very good. All right. So everybody go out and check out all those sites, get involved, and definitely pick up copies of Blind Devotion, Enhancing the Lives of Blind and Visually Impaired Dogs, and the fun children's book, Watching Out for Digger. Great books, great reads, great messages. Love it. Cathy, thank you so much for everything, and good luck with everything. We'll talk with you somewhere down the road.
Tim, thank you very much. It was a great opportunity. It was wonderful. Thank you again.
My pleasure. Well, we're coming to the end of the show today. I want to thank everyone for listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. I want to thank our producers and sponsors for making the show possible. And if you have a great idea, or if you've written a blog, an article, or a book, you can definitely drop us a line here at PetLifeRadio.com. And we're glad to entertain, see if we can get you on the show. And if you have people you want to hear from, authors and writers, you can definitely drop us a line there. So until next time, write a great story about the animals in your life. And who knows, you may be the next guest on Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have a great day.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.